Right, Black Management Forum's Monde Ndlovu joins us now as we continue to reflect on Mboweni's legacy. Kajeni, good evening and thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, my brother. Thanks for having us on your show.
Now, for many young people, they will remember the former governor as, I suppose, as a chef in the kitchen for his antics on social media, but maybe also for his somewhat quirky dress sense. But I suppose there is something in his leadership and his management that would have left an indelible mark on BMF. What is that?
Yes, indeed. He has left an indelible mark right across the Black professional space. I think for starters is that he was appointed as a governor, even a minister in his 30s. And that's quite a milestone as a Black professional and something that must be celebrated and actually analyzed. Number two, as the first Black governor, even in that space of governing other banks, being the land of last resort, that complex system, that indelible mark that a Black professional can actually play such a pivotal role in steering an economy as big as South Africa, especially at that point in time. So the marks are many, the lessons are many and also particular. But I think most probably lastly is that the confidence that it brings to us as Black professionals, that indeed we can lead and understand complex systems and able to lead through it. Even in our 30s, like he has done both as a minister and a governor of the Reserve Bank.
Yeah, I mean, in his pursuit in the socioeconomic justice, fairness, if you want, equity when it comes to the labor space and so on and so forth, he would have not only played a role in government, but at some point also played a role in the private sector as well, in the private space as well, playing on various boards, a key role there. What are some of the lessons that as Black leaders, as Black managers today are taking from that?
Yeah, so firstly, we must not only be fixated with leading in one particular space. So you can be, your leadership can be across the spectrum, all different business types. You're not limited to lead in the public sector, lead in that space, but you can lead in the private sector as well. So that legacy of his moving his leadership, his capabilities, his competencies to display them in the private sector, especially on boards as well, which are complex, which deal with strategy, which deal with leadership direction, deal with those layers of complexity in ensuring that businesses survive in the private sector, because it's all about competition and survival, but also being globally competitive, which is very, very key. So we learn as well as Black managers, as Black leaders, that we should not be confined to leading in one area, but in actual fact, spread our wings, test ourselves, and move into other business types, move into the private sector, move into academia, do something in academia, move and do something else once you've reached those high echelons, and not limit your leadership capabilities in one area. So we learned that lesson and those lessons about moving across different business types and moving across sectors.
Speaking of this, the navigating of complex spaces, others call him brave. In fact, brave enough in some instances to stand up, even in government, to his counterparts to say no. And I suppose big lessons there on decisive leadership.
Well, definitely. One word that strikes is the word of courage. You've got to be courageous, have the courage of your convictions, and the trueness of courage, and the test of true courage is not to be vindictive in your victory, vindictive in your courage, but it must be mixed up with compassion. So the ability to be robust, but at the same time, the ability to listen, stand your ground, and to navigate your argument, champion your view, without denigrating or removing the authenticity and the integrity of people that you disagree with. So disagreement is a key cornerstone of leadership development. We must see the tension of ideas locking up, the tension of views, but not the tension of people. because once it becomes attention of people, it becomes personal and it moves away from the issues. So playing the ball and not the man. So the issue of courage is critical in our development as leadership. We must see more of it in the space of Black managers, Black leaders, in developing this ability to work with people you disagree with, to challenge views, but not to bring and denigrate people down. That's really not the hallmark of leadership. So we learned that from him, the boldness, courage to disagree, even with his own peers, even with his own political party, even with his own colleagues as well, but maintaining the decorum of leadership.
We're on a growth trajectory as a country, even though in the Government of National Unity today, ANC commemorating 100 days, saying well, there's some marked improvement, remarkable achievements in as far as sentiment in the country is concerned, and bringing back some investment. But there's a whole lot more that still needs to be done. Looking ahead, especially if we look at our future, somebody of such great impact, somebody of such interest in the country, what could we do as a country to honor his legacy in our pursuit now, even in this context of a South Africa in a government of national unity?
Yeah, that's a great perspective and a great point. What should we do to honor his legacy? I think for starters, one of the things that we should honor is the fact that he's governor number 8, and also the role of the Reserve Bank in driving transformation. So we need to be bold, like he has been bold in raising issues, but we've got to be even more particular. We know we're trying to solve for poverty, unemployment, and inequality in South Africa, which calls for a review of the system of the country. We obviously cannot celebrate 1%, 2% growth in such an environment in our country when we still have issues and question marks on equity, etc. So we've got to be bold to have that conversation. And I think number 2, he's got a great legacy as well, having worked with the BMF in the employment equity space, in the labor space, right? So we've got to honor his legacy in that space in ensuring that the rights of labor, and we see employment equity really bolstering forward in his honor, because he is a forerunner of those great policies which BMF was also part of, in ensuring that we have the presence of Black managers right across. The other thing in his honor, which he challenged the BMF not so long ago on, is that we need to ensure that the public sector, the skills that we need in the public sector, that it does not become an ocean where we send Black professionals to go and drown. Yeah. He challenged us there. And we need to be excited about working for the state, which is basically was part of his argument, that we must actually encourage Black managers, encourage Black leadership to go into that space and turn it around. And that's part of what I think we can do in honoring his legacy, to really cherry pick the key issues that he raised. He raised issues on macroeconomic policy. He raised issues on labor, and more particularly challenging the BMF, that indeed we as the leaders, Black leaders and future leaders and professionals, must actually go into the public space, and ensure that we play a key role in working for the state and professionalizing the state. And I think that would be a great honor for him.
You spoke about not being afraid to enter into various spaces. You even mentioned serving in academia. He was known also as a sharp intellect, and I suppose something that you would have challenged a lot of Black managers in your gatherings.
Definitely, that combination of courage, sharp intellect of ideas, the robustness of the governor, and the minister as well, and then balancing that effect on people, having the intellectual sharpness to really raise the issues on the day. And yes, he did challenge us quite intellectually as well as the BMF.
Monde Ndlovu, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. This is Monde Ndlovu there of the Black Management Forum, paying his tribute to Tito Mboweni, the late governor of the Reserve Bank and former finance minister who passed away on Saturday.